Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be in Ukraine for the first time. Our firm is very active in Russia and hopefully looking for opportunities here in Ukraine. I wanted to spend most of my time today trying to convince you that you should all become entrepreneurs. At the end of the day, entrepreneurship is the salvation of today's economy. Consider the following fact. Or close your eyes, perhaps, and think about the following world. A world where there is no loyalty from corporations anymore. A world where being a public servant no longer guarantees you any kind of stability in your life. And then realize that is the world in which you live today. So the choice you really have as an individual is, do you want to control your own destiny? And to really make that happen, the only thing you have is to go out and start your own business. My comments are mostly going to be focused around the technology side of business, but pretty much any kind of company that you would create. You know, it can be a bakery all the way to Skype, going through a variety of things. Entrepreneurship really is about giving you guys control back of your own lives. So, first reason why I want to do that is I fundamentally believe that today it is the salvation of our economies. Creating jobs and taking control of your destiny is the most important thing. Now, when I meet a lot of people, they say, hey, entrepreneurship, yeah, but you got to come up with a good idea. Well, there's actually a great guy many, many years ago who essentially said, if you can dream it, you can make it happen. So entrepreneurship is really available to all of us here. And hopefully, 25 minutes from now, you'll have the urge to go out and create a job and a company. The second reason, actually, I think entrepreneurship is for today. This is, for those of you who like graphs, this is something called the Kondratiev cycles, which essentially suggests that there's ups and downs in the world economy based on innovative cycles that happen. Nobody will argue with me that 2008 was the end of a very big cycle. We've now been in this massive global financial crisis for the last 5 or 6 years. And everything is suggesting to us that, as we look forward with the innovation that we see coming, there is a huge opportunity to go out there and be inventive and create businesses. So if you don't think that controlling your own destiny is enough, well, then perhaps you'll consider that there will be never again in your lives a better time to go out and create a company. Now, the real reason I think now is the moment, beyond those two issues, is, we're witnessing today an extraordinary moment in history. And the internet has fundamentally changed everything. So the internet, I want to really focus on that a bit today and remind us what this thing is, and why it gives you the opportunity to go out and be fantastic business creators. So the internet was created in 1995 with the IPO of Netscape. Most of you know this. Think of that. That is just 20 years ago. We have gone from a society where very few people were connected to the internet now having 2 billion humans connected to it. And everything suggests that those 2 billion are going to be 3 billion in a reasonably short period of time. And that's happening not just in the developed countries. If you simply go to India, Brazil, China, some of the big countries, it's all coming through mobile. So I'm saying this to you because you sitting here in Ukraine or sitting in Timbuktu can take advantage of this absolutely fantastic opportunity that you have to go out and reach the world with your business. So just putting the internet in some form of perspective, if the internet was a country, its GDP would be bigger than that of Canada. Think about that. Your generation has been given this unique chance. Take advantage of it. Try something. Build a business. Another interesting statistic. If it was an economy, the internet would be worth somewhere above $4 trillion. I mean, the numbers are staggering. When I look at the research, and if I tell myself, wow, if there ever was a moment in time to create a business, it is now. And our firm fundamentally believes that the internet revolution, as we're beginning to describe it, is the greatest revolution humankind has ever seen. Forget the French Revolution, forget the American Revolution, forget anything else, the Industrial Revolution. Nothing has brought so many people together in such a short period of time. So you might look at me and say, yeah, sure, but this thing is just happening on its own. Actually, it's not true. It is happening because people have gone out and created companies to provide services and products to a very, very broad spectrum of people. Think about Facebook. This company is not 10 years old, and it's connecting the world. We may have some issues with how they're doing that, but what they've done is they've brought the world together. My personal experience is we could never have started Skype without the internet. And what did we achieve with Skype? Well, we achieved at doing two things. One is making the world talk to each other, and secondly, we hurt the telecommunication industry. I shouldn't say we killed it, but we hurt it. Because of a company like Skype, prices just crashed dramatically. So every one of you in this room has the ability to influence how society in the future is going to be molded. We invested a few years ago into a couple entrepreneurs that had the vision to say, we want to bring tools for the small, medium-sized companies online. We want to make it easy for them to be able to have an online identity. Think about that. Actually having your own website, unless you're willing to spend $10,000, it's a complicated proposition. And so we funded a company, an Israeli company called Wix, and these guys went out and built a tool set that allowed every one of you, without any computer training, to actually create a website. And by creating a website, what you're doing is, it is your window to the world. Because without a website, unfortunately today, your business doesn't exist. That is another reality of the internet. So in the last 5 years, the internet's accounted for a bunch of growth. So the growth is there. In fact, in many circles we talk about there being a parallel society, right? There is the real world, and then there's the internet world. And you see the internet companies are growing very fast. Why? Because there's commodity, there's price comparison, there's price transparency in many of the things that it's bringing. So again, from my very selfish perspective, I go around the world trying to find the greatest entrepreneurs who really want to take on the world and use this gift that you've been given, called the internet, to go out and kind of put your stamp on the world. If you're worried about making money, of course, that's important. 4 of the biggest market capitalizations in the world, remember, the internet is less than 20 years old. 4 of the biggest market capitalizations, if you measure importance by market capitalization, are internet/software companies. Another interesting piece of data, which I always spend a lot of time on, is small and medium-sized businesses who are on the web grow faster than anybody else. So the engine, every economist will tell you that the engine of growth, and if you start listening to some of the debates that you're hearing around, the IMF and some of these other institutions, is all about how can we get people like you to create businesses because you're the engine of where we're going. So you see, as you consider whether you should try entrepreneurship or not, I would argue with you that you will regret it if you don't try it. Never has a group of people had so many opportunities to go out and do this. Remember what Walt Disney said. At the end of the day, if you can dream it, you can actually make it happen. So have the courage to go out and try it. And never forget that ultimately there is zero loyalty to you as an individual in the corporate world or in the public services. So if you really want to control your life, as I said, I think the only option is to go out and build businesses that can fuel these guys, these SMEs. So again, if money is important to you, right? 6 of the richest people in the world are internet guys. And you see the names up here, right? Obviously Bill Gates, you know that, but you also know the Amazon guys, and you also know the Google guys and Zuckerberg and so on and so forth. So not only do you have the opportunity to control your destiny, but never in the past have you had the opportunity to create such an amount of personal wealth for yourselves either. And that can frankly happen from anywhere. Skype, by way of an example, was an Estonian company. Who would have thought that we could build Skype out of Estonia? We had 500 engineers when we sold the company to eBay back in 2005. So it really was about a vision and being executed against that vision. These are just names of companies around the internet. So the internet really has this profound impact on all aspects of our lives. That's the other fascinating thing about the internet, is that it's not just a technology-driven thing, but even farmers are now using the internet to take their goods to market. I have a friend of mine, he's a farmer in Denmark, and he believes in organic products. And one day, 3 or 4 years ago, he was one of the early guys to do this. He said, you know what? I'm just going to put up a website, and I'm going to suggest that people, they can pay me 20 euros a week, and I'll deliver them an organic box of vegetables. He tried it, and today he's tripled his revenue base because of this. So if the internet is affecting a farmer in Denmark, and if Skype can be built out of Estonia, then every one of you has an opportunity, and I would argue you have a responsibility to use this tool that you've been given to create something special out there. So, you know, my thesis is the internet is a revolution. It is the ultimate thing that we've been handed. And as I consider my discussions with entrepreneurs, I often sit back and say, what is it that that individual is trying to achieve? How excited are you about it? And your next speaker, who is the founder of a Turkish company called Makafoni, is a perfect example of entrepreneurship and actually saying to himself, I can take advantage of the internet to build something special in Turkey. And in a handful of years, he's been able to use the internet to create the most important online retailer of Turkey. And for full transparency, I have never invested in his company. I'm just impressed with what he's been able to do there. So the internet is giving everybody the opportunity. And so if I try and focus just for a second here on Ukraine or the larger region of Russia and Ukraine, you have a very large group of consumers in this region. And of course, this region has demonstrated that you can build local champions. You can be successful by serving, you know, the larger markets. And of course, you can build global companies out of here. So you know, the challenge, I think, is, as you think about this, is can you afford not to try and be an entrepreneur? So, as I said, the other benefit of the internet is it's for everybody. My example of the farmer, my example of the plumber, my example of my Estonian company or my Israeli company. Today, you can build these businesses from anywhere. I came back from the party last night in a taxi, and I met the CEO and the founder of a company called Prizi, P-R-I-Z-I. I'd never heard of this company. He has 165 employees. He founded the company in Bucharest. No, not Bucharest. Budapest, thank you. And I sat there and I listened to his story and I said, wow, isn't this the best example of how the internet has democratized the ability for a founding team to touch the world? He's got 20 million users, many people paying him for the product. And when I asked him, I said, why did you start this company there? And his answer was, because I could. I didn't need to go to Silicon Valley. I didn't need to move to London. I'm starting an internet business that's going to reach out to the world. And the fantastic thing about that is the internet is not discerning of origin. The internet is discerning of service and quality. So what a story. You know, I had 15 minutes with this guy, and I came out of that meeting going, another one of those companies I wish I had funded. So every one of you in this room, I think, has a responsibility to go and say to yourself, what can I do? What kind of company can I start? And I had that moment of realization 15 years ago. I was a partner at a firm called Accenture, you know, making a fair amount of money in my life. And I said to myself, do I really want to be stuck for the rest of my life in an environment where corporate loyalty is zero? Because in those kind of firms, they will fire you in a heartbeat. I want to be in a situation where I can care for my family. I can guarantee that at least my hard work will yield the benefits for my family. And so I've taken a different path than go out and create a venture-type business. I thought the best thing I could do was go out and help entrepreneurs actually achieve their dreams by financing them. So as we move towards these famous 3 billion internet users that are out there, and they're coming, right? So if you go to India, for instance, 90% of all internet access is on the mobile phone. So there's about 100 million users in India on the internet today. 2 years from now, they're claiming 350 million. Doesn't really matter, is it 350, 275, or 400? But smartphones now in India, you can buy one for 50 bucks. And in a year, you'll buy one for $25. So you can access that market in a way that you've never been able to do it before. So the real choice is, do you want to be an actor or an observer? Personally, I think participating is always better. I thought I would share with you just a few of the things that I worry about on the internet. And my worries tend to be opportunities that I look for. So, you can't delete on the internet. I think that's a big problem. Think about that. Whatever's written on the internet about you, you cannot delete it, whether it's right or wrong. So if any of you are working on anything that suggests we can solve this problem, I'm very interested. I think this is one of the overriding issues that the internet has, is you simply cannot delete. There's all sorts of tricks to try and get you down on the Google rankings. But God forbid somebody's written something bad about you one day. Because the other issue of the internet is there is really no editorializing of it. So my partner David could write on his blog, Mark is really an idiot. And it may be true or not, right? But Google will index him just like an article from Forbes magazine. So the editorializing of the internet for me is a second challenge I think is fundamentally important. And the last one is, and this is where I'm really upset with Facebook, is they've actually usurped the word friend. And I need to find a way to change that. Friend means something. In Facebook, it doesn't mean anything. My kids, I have a 12-year-old daughter, they think they have thousands of friends. And I have to explain to them, no, you don't have friends. They're just people who clicked on you. So the word friend is one of those I want to change. I want to take it back from Facebook in some fashion. And so you might say, boy, these are some crazy ideas. But as a venture capitalist, you have to tell yourself, well, what am I going for if not big ideas? So as I said, and I'm going to conclude on this, the challenge I give you today, which is a challenge I share with pretty much everybody in my life, is you really have one choice in your life, which comes with two answers. Do you want to be part of the system, or fundamentally, do you want to emancipate yourself from the system and take control of your life? If you want to do that, there is a variety of things that you can do. There are a variety of type of businesses you can do. But don't let yourself get caught up by accepting the inevitable, which is this: be part of a system that has lost any kind of loyalty, that has lost its moral compass generally around the world. You are but a cog in the system unless you are managing the systems yourselves. Thank you very much.
Inspiring. Can I ask you just one question?
Sure.
I totally agree, obviously, on, but it's like becoming entrepreneur of yourself in the end. Yeah. You started in Luxembourg, right?
Yeah.
So, which is not Silicon Valley at all.
Right.
We were talking yesterday. I was a, can I say this?
Yeah.
I was a professional table tennis player when I was a kid, okay? And it's not a joke, it's true. And I was going to practice in Luxembourg, and I remember it was nothing there. I mean, no technology at all.
Right.
So how did you do the first step when you say, okay, I want to do now investing and everything? How did you manage to start?
No, for us, we were very naive when we started our firm. We said, oh, well, we were living in Luxembourg. Why don't we just stay in Luxembourg, right? It's actually turned out to be a strength for us because we have zero domestic market.
Okay.
Like there are no companies in Luxembourg, right? Very little innovation. And so you have to go somewhere else to do it. So, whether I travel to Kiev, to Timbuktu or anywhere else, I'm on an airplane anyway. So we go looking for the great deals wherever they are.
Everywhere. So you were forced by
circumstances to go out.
Okay.
Just like if I were a Ukrainian company, I would be forced by circumstances to build a global business. I could not be sufficient on the internet to depend on a local market. I would have to go out. That's very much the model that Israel has found.
Right.
Small country, if you want to be the king of Israel, you're never going to be very wealthy. But from Israel, they immediately start exporting who they are.
Well, last question, just to let you go. Yeah. What kind of companies and what kind of business model you like to invest in?
The weirder, the better.
Okay.
Okay, so anything that's weird, come to us. If you like giving stuff away for free, we love that because we've built successfully a bunch of these freemium business models, right? So if you want to give away stuff for free as a way of getting to the market, come and see us. And then, of course, a general e-commerce, mobile plays, those kind of things.
Cool. Mark Tluszcz, thank you so much.
Thanks,
thank you.